Good afternoon on October 1st, 2024. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting. We will be following the usual sequence of news followed by videos, miscellany, question and answers, and social hours. The videos are 15 new hidden iOS 18 features, how to sort and filter in photos on iPhone or iPad, how to restore your iPhone from an iCloud backup, using camera control on iPhone 16, how to lock, hide, and unhide an app on iPhone or iPad, 7 ways to copy and paste things on an iPhone, and iPhone haptic typing. This week's news. These this is a PDF file which is on the BBS. You can find it there, and you can access any of these news items by clicking on the URL, and we will get to them. Following a synopsis of these news items. iMore shuts down. Archives are to remain, by Gerald Lynch of Tidbits. However, within these brackets, these 2 paragraphs in brackets here, this is actually iMore staff saying that launching in the wake of the very first iPhone back in 2008, a game-changing device not just for Apple but for the world at large, iMore has announced that it will be publishing no more, but its archive since that start will remain available on imore.com. iMore claims that the shift of technology to Apple Intelligence is the cause of its demise. Gerald Lynch at Tidbits, however, speculates that actually, as we found many years ago, serving ads to eyeballs is a tough business, and I assume that a conflation of factors reduced iMore's revenues to the point where it is no longer sustainable to generate content. Any comments or questions on that?
Yeah, they had. I used to use one of them. iMore. I check it every day for news and stuff, but it's gone downhill. There wasn't much there anymore. As Rene Ritchie left, he went to YouTube and then to Google. So
I used to get my information from there.
yeah,
No
it's been
more, huh?
slim pickings. They've been going downhill for a while.
All right, moving on. Apple is reportedly not investing in OpenAI. AppleInsider.com by Charles Martin. Last month, the Wall Street Journal claimed that Apple was in talks to invest in OpenAI as ChatGPT comes to iOS 18. However, this month, Apple Insider claims Apple is said to have dropped out of a new funding round for OpenAI at the last minute, but this will have no impact on its plans to integrate optional ChatGPT queries into Apple Intelligence. The report isn't clear as to why Apple is investing into the funding round, but reports that the pull-up by Apple could be related to the recent move by OpenAI to abandon its nonprofit status and become a for-profit company. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think they're thinking if they're for profit, they're going to be selling stuff left and right. And due to their security measures, they probably decided, let's think about it.
Could be, huh? A letter from Congress could be the first step in forcing Apple to stop using BOE displays, BOE being Beijing Oriental Electronics Group, reported by Apple insider Malcolm Owen. Definition in Wikipedia of BOE says that BOE is one of the world's largest manufacturers of LCD, OLEDs, and flexible displays. The letter from Congress insists that the People's Republic of China, engages in aggressive state-sponsored subsidization of the two primary display technologies, liquid crystal display and organic light-emitting diode display. The letter further goes on to insist that they are tied to the People's Liberation Army and support its efforts. It adds that BOE was originally founded in 1993 as a military and defense supplier and a subprime contractor for the PLA. It has supplied to other PLA suppliers, including Hisense. This is further initiative for Apple to widen its display supplier sources. Any thoughts on that? Next item. Apple rejects new Apple Intelligence Pact AI is what?
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, that's what's escaping me. Apple rejects new Artificial Intelligence Pact in the EU, despite support from OpenAI and Google. Reported in 9 to 5 Mac by Ryan Christoffel. Apple's ongoing dispute with EU governing authorities over a variety of issues, including AI, has found its latest story. Agreeing to the new EU AI Pact are Adobe, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Samsung, and Snap. Holdouts, Apple and Meta, formerly named Facebook. Nothing resolved leaves EU countries without iPhone 16 Apple AI features. Comments, questions? Massimo.
Go ahead, Carol. Go ahead, Carol. You're muted. Carol, you're muted.
Massimo founder resigns as CEO after removal from board. This is reported by Jason Snell of sixcolors.com. Some interesting news regarding Massimo, the company that is locked in disputes with Apple over its patents for blood oxygen sensors, that has led to that feature being removed from the Apple Watch in the US. Joe Kiani, the company's firebrand founder and CEO, has resigned as CEO after losing a shareholder vote and being kicked off the company's board of directors. The company has named veteran healthcare executive Michael Brennan as interim chief. Hanging in the air is this question: with Kiani gone, will Massimo's board be more willing to cut a deal with Apple to end its disputes over Apple Watch? Any comments or questions on that?
Well, can I try to get a hold of Carol Greenlee?
Okay, we'll move on to the videos.
Move on.
The videos, this is PDF. It's on the BBS, and by clicking on the URLs, you can gain access to these videos directly. First video, Gary Rosenzweig from MacMost. 15 new additional hidden iOS 18 features.
Gary here with MacMost.com. Here are some hidden features in iOS 18. So people, of course, talking about all the major new features for the iPhone in iOS 18, but there are some smaller hidden features as well. A lot of these, of course, are things found in settings. So let's go into the settings app here. And first notice that, like before, you can go into your Apple ID. It's now called Apple Account. And in there, you can access your iCloud settings. And there's a new arrangement for how that looks. But you could also access iCloud outside of that by just scrolling down and looking for iCloud right here. This is going to definitely make it easier for people like me to tell other people where to find iCloud settings. Also notice that this listing for settings is now a lot shorter. That's because all of the apps are now grouped together under apps right here. They're all in alphabetical order. You can use the letters here to the right to jump to a section, and you'll find all of Apple's apps, the default built-in ones, and third-party apps all mixed in together, easy to find because they're alphabetical. Now, there's some new options for battery charging that are only available in the latest iPhone. So it's here on my iPhone 15 Pro, it's on the iPhone 16s as well, but if you have older models, you may not see this. You go into battery, and then you go to charging. And there before, you had the option to have battery charging set to 80%, but now you can actually do 80, 85, 95, 100. You've got all these different options here. So if 80% didn't get you through the day before, but you didn't want to have it set to 100%, you now have the option to maybe go with something like 90 or 95%, still prolong the battery life a little bit while still getting a pretty good charge to last you for the day. Also, for the iPhone 15 Pro models and all the iPhone 16s, they've got an action button. And like before, you can go to the action button settings, and you have all these different options here. But a new one is the ability to choose controls. And this means control center. If you use this, basically any on-off switch in control center can now be set to be changed by the action button. So you've got tons of different options here, including third-party apps. As long as they can add themselves to control center, they can now be assigned to the action button as well. By the way, if you like my videos, you can join the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. Read about it right here. Now, a lot of new things are going to be under accessibility. And while they're meant for people that have accessibility issues, we can all use them and benefit from them. So you'll find one such new thing listed here under speech. It's vocal shortcuts. And you could turn this on, and then you can create a voice command that will work, and you can set it to whatever you want. So it literally means shortcuts here. In other words, things in the Shortcuts app. But you can create a shortcut there that does something like just launch an app or does a whole complex series of things. I've got a ton of different shortcuts from the Shortcuts app. Like here's one to record a voice memo, and I can create a custom phrase like that. Then I have to speak it 3 times for it to learn the phrase. Listen up, listen up, listen up. And now it's ready. So now I can simply speak this and the shortcut runs. Listen up. And now I'm recording a voice memo. But in addition to any shortcut, there was one interesting item here at the top, and that's Siri request. So you can create a voice phrase that activates Siri that's not the typical hey and the word Siri or Siri by itself. Now there's another way to control something with your voice. If you go down to touch here and then to assistive touch, you have to have assistive touch turned on. But now you could also add something called sound actions. So there's these different sounds here, and you could assign them to a particular action. So you can find all these system actions here, and you could assign it to that sound. You could practice the sound here by clicking on one of these and then trying it, and it'll tell you if you get it or not. Also, in the physical and motor section, there's eye tracking now. So you can turn on eye tracking, and then it's going to go through this process where you have to follow the dot with your eyes. And then once you're done with that, you can actually use your eyes, as I'm trying to do right now, to control what you're pointing at. Now, if you go down to the hearing section, there's something new called music haptics. And this is a simple on-off switch. And when you do this, if you play music in certain apps, like the music app, your phone actually vibrates to both the drums and the bass of the music. So you kind of feel the music as well as hear it. Now, obviously this is for people who can't hear as well, but I find it to be a pretty satisfying experience to hold your phone in your hand while listening to music as well. I recommend that if you're a music fan, to give this a try. It's really interesting. And one more accessibility feature. Under motion, you've got one for show vehicle motion cues. So if you turn that on, you're going to see these dots on the side of your screen. And as you move your iPhone around, notice how the dots move. You can set it to automatic so these only appear when you're actually in a moving vehicle. And they're really interesting. I'd love to hear from people that have problems with motion sickness in cars as to whether or not these help. So of course, Control Center has some major new features. If I swipe down here, I can actually edit Control Center and add all sorts of new cool controls. That's a major new feature. But what isn't getting talked about as much is this little power button at the top right. Before, you had to press the side button and the down volume button, and that brings up several controls, powering off, but also making emergency calls and things like that. But now, if you want to power down your phone, you could simply tap, and you have to hold this button here, and then it will bring up the power off. And the cool thing is that, like using the two buttons, this locks your phone as well, and locks it such that you have to enter your passcode. Face ID or Touch ID won't work to unlock it. Now, when using the phone app, there's a cool new search feature. You can search for contacts. But how can you do that when all you have are numbers? Well, remember, you've got those little letters under the numbers. Remember when we used to use those for texting? Well, you can still use those here. So, for instance, if I wanted to call Joe, I can type 5 for the J, 6 for the O, 3 for the E, and you can see how it brings up that contact there. So I can easily search my contacts using those letters and select the one that's right, or just keep typing until it's the only one left. And then maybe even after a while, I can get used to the fact that 563 will be a quick way to call Joe. Okay, here's a cool new feature that works with the buttons. If I'm going to press the volume up button, I can do it on my iPhone, and you wouldn't expect to see anything here in the screen capture, but you will. Look closely on the left side of the screen. I'm going to press volume up, and you could see how there's that little black space that gets formed there. Here's volume down. So the buttons now produce this little effect on the screen. It makes it look like you're actually pinching in on the side of the iPhone. It's really neat visual feedback. Now, you probably know that in voice memos as well as notes, you can record audio and get a transcription. But what's not being talked about as much is you can actually import audio as well. And we're going to press the paperclip button at the bottom here to import something. I'm going to attach this file, and I'm going to use an audio file. Here's one that's the audio of one of my videos, like that, and it will bring that in as an audio attachment. But if I tap on it to go to the audio, not only can I play it, but I have this transcript button right here, and I'll actually transcribe this audio even though I didn't record it in the voice memos or notes app. You can create these transcriptions from any standard audio file like an M4A or MP3. Now, the new calculator app doesn't look too different from the one that was on the iPhone before. The main difference is it's available on the iPad now as well, and it's the same app that's basically on the Mac also. And some people talk about the fact that you can actually backspace now. So you've got this little backspace button, the clear button turns into backspace. But you could have done that before with a swipe as well, so it's not really a new feature. But what is a new feature is the ability to see the equation that you're typing appear at the top. So I can do this, and you can see how it types out the entire thing. A normal calculator won't do that. You would just see 1, plus wouldn't produce any output, and then you would see 2, and then plus again, and you would just see the result. You would never see the whole equation there. You get the answer if you click equals there, and you see the equation there at the top. You can actually click the equation to go back and add more to it, like that. And then if you go to the history, you actually can see the history and go back to previous equations and continue to work with those. And also, you can kind of use parentheses now. I mean, you had them before if you switched to the scientific calculator. You can see the parentheses. But now they appear in the equation there. And you can treat the scientific calculator as kind of an alternate mode, like using the shift key to get capital letters and symbols above the numbers. So, for instance, I can go here to basic, and let's say I want to 4 times, and now I want to use parentheses. Well, I could switch to scientific, use the left parenthesis, switch back to basic, and then type something like this. Notice how it auto-completes the right parenthesis there, so I can just press equals. So I've got the parentheses there, even though I can't type them in the basic calculator, they still appear and work. Now, the new Passwords app is a major new feature of iOS 18, but kind of a hidden feature of that is if you go into Wi-Fi and you go to a Wi-Fi network, I could even click it and copy or share, but what's new is the ability to show network QR code. You tap that and it gives you a QR code and somebody with another device can simply point their camera at this to get access. And finally, here's something I consider to be a major new feature, but it does get mentioned very much, and that's in the Files app. If you're using iCloud Drive, of course, you've got this system where some of your files are downloaded and local, and others are only on the server. If you lose your internet connection, then you can only access the files that happen to be downloaded, which are probably your most frequently used files. But if you want to ensure that a file is always available, even when offline, in the Files app, you can tap and hold on a file on iCloud Drive, and now there's the option to keep downloaded. So you use that, and now this one's always going to be available offline. Tap and hold again, and you can turn keep downloaded off for that file. So while the major new features of iOS 18 are great, I'm sure there are many of you that will find these rarely talked about new features just as useful.
Comments or questions? Moving on.
A lot there.
Come on, there's tons of stuff in there.
That's for sure.
A lot.
Second video is from Apple Support, how to sort and filter in photos launching an app on iPhone and or iPad.
Starting in iOS 18 and iPadOS 18, you have even more options to sort and filter your photos to easily find what you're looking for. Here's how it works. In Photos, swipe down to view your full library. Tap the Sort and Filter button in the bottom left corner of your screen. From here, you can choose how to sort your library. Let's tap Sort by Recently Added to organize photos by when they were added to your iPhone. Tap the Sort and Filter button again to explore the rest of the options. Now tap Filter. You can choose how you'd like to filter your library and even select multiple options to help narrow down your search. For this example, we'll select Photos. Now, it only shows photos in your library and hides the videos. The Sort and Filter button will also turn blue and change to an icon that reflects the filter you chose. Tap Filter again to return to the previous menu. Let's tap View Options to explore that menu. Here, you can adjust how your photos appear in the library. For example, tap Aspect Ratio Grid to view your photos in their actual aspect ratio rather than a square grid. You can tap Screenshots to show or hide the screenshots in your library. Let's tap to hide them. Now your library will show photos with no screenshots. Tap View Options again to return to the previous menu, and tap anywhere outside the menu to dismiss it. View photos your way. To learn more about your iPhone, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel or click another video to keep watching.
Comments or questions?
I hate
That sorting thing is going to help a lot of people, because when you get a picture sent to you by someone and you import it, all of a sudden you can't find it because it has a date that's way back in time. Now you can sort it so that the most recently added one shows right up.
I've certainly had that experience myself.
The iPhone and iPad photos has changed a lot, and a lot of people complain about it. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the bottom under your library that isn't in the macOS app, but you can turn all that off or choose what to turn on and off in those categories underneath your library.
I don't like it because it lost a lot of the names on photos. I had a couple of group photos of another group I belonged to, and the names were on there and the old photos, and only a few of the names showed up when it was transferred over. And they were in plain view. It wasn't like they were hiding behind somebody.
There's an option to show or hide the names if you put names in there.
I found it. Yeah.
That didn't help.
No.
Another learning experience is that the edit item is not any longer there. you have to go down to the bottom where it has the three lines saying more. Touch that, and then you can get to crop and the like.
So good news is in 2 weeks, we're going to have Jason Snell, and he wrote the book, Take Control of Photos, and he just updated it for the new version. So he'll be telling us all about what he wrote about in the book in 2 weeks.
The third video is from Apple Support again, how to restore your iPhone from an iCloud backup.
If you don't have your previous iPhone or can't use it, you can use an iCloud backup to restore your data to a new device. Here's how. Before you start, make sure a backup of your previous iPhone is stored in iCloud and you have your Apple account password. You'll need to have access to a Wi-Fi network in order to restore your data, and your device should be plugged in and charging after setup to download your content. If you've already set up your new iPhone, you'll need to erase it and start the process over. After you turn on your new iPhone, follow the prompts until the Quick Start screen appears. Then tap Set up without another device and continue following the prompts. On the Transfer Your Apps and Data screen, choose From iCloud Backup and follow the prompts, which includes signing into your Apple account. You might be asked to review and accept the terms and conditions in order to continue. If you agree, tap Agree to confirm. Next, choose your most recent iCloud backup from your previous iPhone and follow the prompts, which include setting up cellular service and an eSIM. Then, a loading bar will appear when your iPhone begins restoring your information from iCloud. This might take some time to complete. Then follow any remaining prompts. When it's done, you can start using your iPhone. Your apps and data will continue to download in the background when you're connected to Wi-Fi. Some things like your photos might take extra time to complete. And that's how you can transfer your data to a new iPhone using an iCloud backup. To learn more about your Apple devices, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel, or click another video to keep watching. Some sequences in this video were shortened.
Yeah.
Comments or questions?
I have a question. She was talking about toward the end getting your cellular set up, but can it be done with Wi-Fi? I'm not sure if I understood that fully.
No, it was independent of that. It was that the phone needed to be set up to use cellular. Had nothing to do with the backup,
I see.
just part of the startup process.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
I will comment that, as advised by John last week, iPhone to iPhone is the handy way to get set up.
Yeah, it's marvelous.
Yeah, that's the best way. That's the way they want you to do it now.
Fourth video is by Andrew O'Hara of Apple Insider, using camera control on the iPhone 16. There is, of course, a shorter Apple version describing what the iPhone 16 camera button does, but I chose this presentation because it includes a mechanical description of how the button manages to provide both a trackpad-like function in addition to being a manual button, and because it provides some guidance on what to consider when purchasing a case for your iPhone 16 in regards to the camera button.
Here's how you can master the new camera control button found on the iPhone 16 series. Let's hit it. Before we get too deep, if you want to keep up to date with all the latest Apple news, consider smashing that subscribe button. The new camera control button, or what we presumed would be called the capture button prior to launch, is this handy touch-sensitive button located on the right edge of all 4 iPhone 16 models. An abbreviated description is that you press the button to open the camera app and press it again to take a photo. But there is so much more to it. First, I want to take a look at the mechanics of the button. Unlike all 4 other buttons on your iPhone, the camera control is actually a touch-sensitive button, kind of like a trackpad. At the same time, it is also a physical button. So you can swipe on it, gently press it, but also push it all the way down for a real click. It's kind of wild. It starts, though, with that first press. By default, it launches Apple's own stock camera app. Apple has opened this tool up to developers, though, which is why you have a choice between several other camera apps. Personally, I have Halide, Moments Pro Camera, and Instagram as options to choose from. Many others are still adding the feature, so be sure to check the App Store for updates to your favorite camera app. You can also set this button to camera magnifier or the QR scanner, or just nothing if you prefer. Once you jump into the stock camera app, press the button again to activate the shutter and take a picture or record a video, depending on the mode your camera is set in. If you press and hold the button, it starts recording video. Super handy to do without having to change modes first. If you gently press on the button, it will open up controls. On my iPhone 16 Pro, I can choose between exposure compensation to make it lighter or darker, depth for portrait shots, zoom level, camera, styles, and tone. Just double soft press the button to move between these controls. When that camera control UI appears on screen, you can slide your finger on the button to make adjustments. Alternatively, you can slide on the screen too. This can sometimes be more useful than the button itself, like with the zoom controls. So I just soft press to open the zoom, and when I use the button, I can only go like incrementally. Like the button's not that big, so I have to go a bunch of times. But if I slide on the screen, you can go all the way in or all the way out. The single press or double press gesture can be a little fickle. So if you find it too difficult, you can jump into settings and adjust it, making it lighter or harder to pull off. This camera control button is just one of many new camera features for the iPhone 16 series. If you want to learn more about the camera features, check out the video that I've linked here. So far, I love the camera control button. There's been no faster way to launch the camera and take a picture just one-handed. Especially on the iPhone 16 or 16 Pro, since they are the smaller of the two, I can wrap my whole hand around it and I never have to touch the screen. It even works when your phone is locked. I'm curious how your mileage has been. If you have an iPhone 16, let me know in the comments what you think of this button, good or meh. The final thing that I want to touch on is cases. Since this button is touch sensitive, you need to have a special case to work with it. So far, only a few have added a physical cover for the camera control. The ones that I have seen so far, which is non-exhaustive, includes Supcase, Spigen, OtterBox, and of course Apple itself. Apple actually has a color-matched piece of sapphire on the outside of its case with a conductive layer underneath it to pass through your signals to make it work. Third-party cases so far have been using copper a lot of times because the sapphire has been very hard to source. At least that's what I'm told. For ones that aren't able to put a cover on there or they didn't for this initial batch, they have cutouts on the side or just a hole in the side of the case. Keep that in consideration when shopping for a case and realize we may see cases adding this button down the line. There may be a whole new round of cases launched in a few months. So that's the new camera control button. A whole new way to capture photos and video with your iPhone. It's not always going to be the most convenient way, like repeatedly zooming or even the photographic style seem to be better done on screen. But for a lot of moments, I like it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Any thoughts?
Well, I never knew that you could slide your finger on the screen instead of having to slide it on that button. That's pretty slick.
Right, indeed.
I just bought a new phone and I was videoing the whole video you just showed me. So I won't forget it.
Uh-huh.
Well, you don't have to video the whole video because it's in the list of videos.
I don't care. I did. And so I have it on my phone so I can show my son. And, you know, I think it's really amazing what they've done.
So
anyway,
people who have 16s, how do you like that button?
I just have had it for one day. But I love it. I think it's amazing.
And it takes some practice to
Well,
you
the
know,
funny thing is I've always wanted to push on the side anyway when I take a picture. And I was, so I think, well, finally Apple's figured out that I'd rather push the side than that button in the front to take a picture. So,
Does it seem like the button is in the right place for
yeah,
that?
all of a sudden it's in the right place. So anyway, very good. Thank you.
Lee, do you have a 16?
yeah, I got one last week. Uh-huh.
Do you find the button is working out for you? Is it in the right place for using for a shutter button?
Yes, but it will take me some time to become proficient with it.
It's no good for left-handers.
Yeah.
Can you take the pictures upside down?
Then you'd be using your thumb.
Do you have a case for that, Jennifer?
Yes, I got the case at Apple.
Oh, okay, so it has the hole for it.
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
I'm using the encased Rebel belt mount, and it has a concavity in the side of the case that allows access to the button. And it was $22. I only use encased cases. They're so good, and they're cheap.
You know, in that video that Lee just showed, didn't he just use a left hand?
I didn't notice.
I think he did. He said
Well-
he doesn't have to touch the screen at all. I think
If you hold the phone horizontally, the button is on the right-hand side of the
right, the
phone.
Right.
It is to the right as you're holding it horizontally with the shut-off button. It's to the right of that button by about just about exactly an inch. So it's close to the corner, the right-hand corner as you're looking at it horizontally.
Jen's got it 90 degrees to the right, and you can press it on the top.
It'd be in the landscape mode.
Something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Pressing on the top.
thinking,
Right side. So it'd be hard for you left-handed.
well, thinking in the landscape mode, though, the left-hander, that just imagine picking it up. Your thumb would work quite well. You know, you'd turn it upside down compared to the right-hander, but it would accommodate that, and your thumb would work quite well on that slider button.
Okay.
I'll have to see that video again. I will. That was interesting.
Yes. All right, moving on. 5th videos from Apple support, how to lock, hide, and unhide an app on iPhone or iPad.
Starting in iOS 18 and iPadOS 18, you have even more control over who can view your information stored in an app by locking it to require Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode for access. And you can hide supported apps for even more control. We'll show you how to lock an app and unlock it to no longer require authentication when it's opened, and how to hide an app on your home screen and unhide it again when you're ready. Let's get started. To lock and unlock an app on your home screen, touch and hold the app you'd like to lock. Now tap Require Face ID. If you lock an app, It will require Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode to open or show its content in another app. And the app content will not appear in other places, including notification previews and Spotlight. When you're ready, tap Require Face ID to lock the app. When you're ready to unlock the app and no longer require authentication to open it, touch and hold it, then tap Don't Require Face ID. Now your app no longer requires authentication to open, and its content is added back to Spotlight. Now we'll walk you through how to hide an app and unhide it again at any time. First, touch and hold the app you'd like to hide. You can hide third-party apps or Apple apps that were downloaded from the App Store. Then, tap Require Face ID and tap Hide and Require Face ID. A screen will appear explaining that your app will require Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode to reveal, open, or use Siri with the app. The app will also be moved to a folder for hidden apps in App Library, and you will not receive notifications, calls, or critical alerts from this app. When you're ready, tap Hide App to continue. To access your app after you've hidden it, swipe left on your home screen until you get to App Library. Scroll down to the Hidden folder. All devices with iOS 18 or later will have this same Hidden App folder whether you've hidden apps on your device or not. Now tap Hidden and authenticate with Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode. If you'd like to unlock and unhide the app, touch and hold the app in the Hidden folder, tap Add to Home Screen, and tap Unhide App. Now your app will be unlocked and returned to your home screen. More privacy, more peace of mind. To learn more about your iPhone, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel or click another video to keep watching. Not available for all apps.
Any comments or questions?
I like the concept.
Yes. Back to Gary for 7 ways to copy and paste things on an iPhone.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you 7 different ways that you can copy and paste on your iPhone. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, when the iPhone first came out, you couldn't actually copy and paste on it. But that was soon remedied, and now there are many different ways that you can copy and paste on your iPhone. Let's start off with the most basic way. Let's say you're in an app with some text. I'm going to use Notes here, but you could be working in Mail or Pages or just about any app where you're creating text. You can double tap on a word to select it. So I'm going to double tap on the word Quick here. And you can see right away I get a menu at the top that has Cut, Copy, and Paste. But I don't want just that word. I want more than that. So I'm going to drag the end of that selection over and get exactly the text I want. When I release, the menu is still there. So Cut would delete the text from here and put it in the clipboard so I can paste it later. Copy will just make a copy of what's there. It'll leave the current text alone. And then Paste will actually delete the text and take whatever's in the clipboard and put it there. We're going to use Copy here. And then I'm going to go to another part of this document, but I could be going to a completely different app as well. And I'm going to tap right where the text cursor is blinking and then use Paste. And you can see how it pastes a new copy of that text. Likewise, I could switch to a completely different app like Pages, and I could paste there and it will paste that text in. So this is a good way to make a copy of text in the same document, but also a good way to copy text from one document to another. Now here's a handy tip if you're going to use that method. You can also select text using the trackpad method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the space bar in the keyboard here. I'm going to hold down with my finger, so I'm not releasing. And after a second, the keys all go blank. Now I'm in trackpad mode. I continue to hold my finger on the screen and I move it around and it's working like a trackpad would on a Mac. I can go and place the cursor where I want it to go and I can release and the text cursor would be in that location. But I could also do a quick tap with a second finger anywhere on the keyboard. Once I do that, now if I drag, it's going to select text rather than just move the cursor. Now I can release, and I made that selection. Now the interesting thing here is that it doesn't give you the menu. You can still bring it up by just tapping on the selection, and now you have cut, copy, and paste right there, and you can continue as before. But another method you could use to copy can be done while that menu is there, or if it's not there, as is the case right now. You can use 3 fingers on the screen of your iPhone. What you want to do is make sure your fingers are not too closely together. You want to have them 3 fingers spaced apart, and you want to pinch in with those 3 fingers. Do it in the middle of the screen. You don't have to do it right where the text is selected. And then once you do that, you could see the word copy appear at the top of the screen. Then you could tap somewhere else, like here, and you could use the regular way of pasting, just another tap and then paste. But you could also use the opposite gesture, 3 fingers together in the middle of the screen and then out, and they have to be separated like that. So a quick little unpinch, and you could see it says paste to the top and it pasted the text there. I find these gestures really hard to pull off. Even I can only do it maybe 80% of the time, which isn't good enough. Matter of fact, 99% of the time wouldn't be good enough. I prefer to use the menu there, but if you really like gestures and you're good at them and you find this works for you, it's another option. Now there's another way to do it using a gesture. So I'm going to select text here, and it doesn't matter whether you see the menu there or not. You can take 3 fingers and you want to tap with the 3 fingers in the middle of the screen. Now when you do this, make sure all 3 fingers are connecting with the screen at the same time. If one gets there first, it'll work just like a regular tap. So let's do it. 3 fingers in the middle of the screen, and then you get this special menu at the top. It shows undo, cut, copy, paste, and redo. So this is a really useful little editing menu there. It includes copy, cut, and paste. So I can now tap the copy part there, and then notice I can move elsewhere, do the same 3-finger tap like that, and now I don't get cut and copy because nothing's selected, but I can use paste. And notice how it remains there for me to do multiple things, so I can paste again. So that can be kind of handy. I also get the undo and redo. It'll remain there until I do something else, like tap elsewhere in the text. Now there's another way to copy, but it doesn't work with selections. It works with the entire document. So for instance, if I were to select this text here, I could tap the share button or action button there at the top. Sometimes in some apps it's at the bottom. And then you get a copy option there. But note the context. At the top here, it shows a note icon. This is for the whole note. It doesn't show the text that's selected. So if I actually use copy here, I get the whole note, not these 2 words. If I were to then switch to another app and paste, you can see I'll paste the entire document in there, not just the words that were selected. Now this works better in other situations. For instance, here I am in the Photos app, and if I go to a specific photo and I want to copy and paste that into a document, I can use the share or actions button there at the bottom, and you could see copy says copy photo, to being clear what it's doing, and you can see the context right here. I'll copy the photo. Now I'll switch to another app and I will paste, and it pastes the photo in place. So it's useful in that case. Now another way to copy and paste is to tap and hold an object. So for instance, if you're in Photos here, I can tap and hold this photo, and then I get copy right there, and I can use that to copy and then paste using any method in another app. This works in other cases as well. For instance, in the Messages app, you can tap and hold a message, and you can see you get copy there. And then if you paste that into a document, you could see it pastes the text. Now in many apps you can also select objects, and when you do, you can copy those. So for instance, I'm going to use the select button here at the top of the Photos app when I'm viewing my library. When I use that, I can select multiple images like this. I'll select these 3. Now I can copy them using either the share and actions button here. You can see I can use that, and there's copy photos. And it shows me the context here is 3 photos. But other apps have a 3 dots button like this one here, and that sometimes also includes a copy function here. So I can copy those 3 images that were selected. Now I can paste, and you can see it's going to paste all 3 images. It's not always the case though that you have a select button. Sometimes you have to select things a different way. So for instance, I can tap on one object here in Pages and hold, and then with the second finger, tap another object. And now I've got two objects selected. And when I release, you can see I've got cut, copy, and paste. And I could copy both of these objects. And I want to show you one last way to copy and paste that doesn't even involve the clipboard. You can drag and drop objects and text between apps. So I'm going to select some text here. And with that text selected, I'm going to tap and drag the selection. When I do, you can see how it takes out that text, and it's now this object I'm moving around. I still have my finger down on the screen. Now, if I release it here, what it's going to do is cut from the one location and paste it in the other. You can see how it's done that. But if I instead go to a different app, so I'm going to use another finger to bring up the application switcher, switch to pages, and I'm going to drop it here. You can see how it's pasted it there. But if I go back to notes, you can see it's left it there. It's smart enough to know if you're going between apps that you probably just want to make a copy and paste it and not cut it and paste it. And you can do the same thing with objects as well. For instance, in the Photos app here, I can tap and drag this one photo, and I can switch apps and then go to this one here and then drop it there. And I basically dragged it from one app to the other. It didn't cut it out of the Photos app, of course. It made a copy and now put it here in Notes. So don't ever rule out dragging and dropping as a good alternative to the traditional copy or cut and paste. And also keep in mind that third-party apps may do things in a non-standard way. So you may find some third-party app has different cut, copy, and paste buttons or functionality available. If there's an app you use all the time, you may want to explore all of the different toolbar buttons and elements inside that app to see what other ways there may be to copy and paste. And also try out the methods I showed you to see which ones will work and which ones may not in that third-party app. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Comments or questions? I have a comment. Did you notice that when he used that application switcher that he was very convenient that the next application was Pages. But you could see there were the additional applications behind them. It's not clear to me how you know which application you're getting to when all you're seeing is those little slivers on the side. But it was convenient for him that the next one was Pages.
Has anybody found an equivalent thing for use on the iPhone as on the Mac, where it's you highlight something and just say open link if it's a URL without having to copy and paste and all these tricks that he was showing us?
For an open link, all you have to do is highlight it and say SIRI open link.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, SIRI. I won't say it out loud because I've got a HomePod here that'll respond, and a phone and an iPad. It's pretty effective on that score.
Okay.
From my experience, anyway.
Yeah.
And you also just click on the link?
Never worked for me.
Really?
Huh. Yeah, that's really the simple way.
Well, that's if it's in PDF. I'm not sure that's the same case if it were in a Pages document.
That if it doesn't work, that there cannot be a live or active link. Is it underlined?
No, on the Mac, I just highlight it, and I can't recall whether I hold the Option key down or whatever, but you get a little window opening up, and one of the invitations is to open link. And then Safari opens. Yeah. I use that all the time. Yeah.
It asks you what do you want to open it in, right? Huh. I do that when I do the videos. I have to test each and every link. And it says, what do you want to open it in? Huh. So, the only thing I can think of is that that link is not somehow disabled. So I don't know if Siri can open it. But it works it doesn't work in any way that you've tried at all?
Correct.
Well, where would that link be that you're talking about?
Well, if you can highlight it, it exists as text. And certainly on the
Well,
Mac, you highlight it and then you can have it open into Safari.
well, if it's text, if it's in your if it's created in text editor or something like that, and it's text, and you put something into text editor, it's not a link anymore. You have to make it rich text, and then you have to make it an active link.
Well,
Uh,
one
I
place
just
where, yeah.
I just tried it. I highlighted a thing that just simply said google.com. Wasn't a link, it just said google.com. Once it's highlighted, you tap on it and you get a pop-up long um, menu of things, and in that is open link. There are a whole bunch of things. There's copy, of course, but you just have to keep sliding to the right and you'll find open link.
Well, where are these links you're talking about? Like in articles?
I did it just in notes.
But Tim, you asked the question, where would these links be that you want to be able to click?
Oh, sometimes I have something embedded in an email, and then I want to invoke Safari to open that link that's in that email.
And just touching the link, the URL, or touching and holding it doesn't do anything?
Well, I've only succeeded within using a Mac, not again
Not on the phone. On the
not on the
phone, you have
phone.
to select it.
Okay.
Select the link and just tap on it and you'll see a choice of things to do, including open link.
Okay, give it a try.
It in your email, is it a different color? That link, is it a different color? Or is it just text?
I don't recall.
Hey, Andy, I'm in the middle of a Zoom meeting. Can I call you, say, around 5?
Wait,
Okay.
mute Rick.
And Mary's
Rick,
coming
mute
over for a
yourself.
vice presidential debate
You're
party.
not muted,
so,
Rick.
have to be in
Rick,
between.
mute yourself.
I just did.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, well, let's move on to the last video by Tom Wells, iPhone Haptic Typing. This is a quickie.
Your iPhone has a great little feature that allows you to get feedback on the screen while you're typing, making typing on your iPhone's keyboard that little bit more like typing on a real physical keyboard. To activate this, go to Settings, then Sounds and Haptics, and tap into Keyboard Feedback. Sound is where your iPhone makes that really annoying tapping sound when you tap on the keys. You might want this on. I personally always switch it off. The option you want is this one here, Haptic. Toggle that on, then start typing, and you'll immediately notice the difference. I should point out that Apple themselves have said that this feature can drain your battery more quickly than other features on the iPhone, so if you notice your battery draining more quickly after toggling this on, you have been warned. But it's definitely worth giving it a try to see if this works for you. Check out my channel for loads more Apple-related tips and tricks.
Any comments?
There was a lot of reverb on that I've watched several of his videos before and I've never heard that. But there's a lot of echo going on there for some reason.
I've gone ahead and turned on the haptic, and it's a very subtle kind of sense of touch. And when you used to oh shoot, I'm sorry. Anyway, when you used to type on a manual typewriter, there was plenty of tactile feedback. This gives you a very subtle kind of tactile feedback with your buttons on the iPhone.
There was a comment in there that Apple points out that will do some battery drainage. thinking back to an earlier video where they were talking about accompanying music with the bass notes vibrating. I'm wagering that also would be a battery drainer.
Yeah, I would say definitely. Maybe even more so because the whole phone is shaking rather than just the light haptic touch.
Right. Okay, a couple of quick miscellany items. We've discussed briefly that you can see a message to send later. You can set a message to send later, thanks to Tom Wells' proper honest tech for showing us how easy it is to do. And there is a very interesting speculation by David Price, editor at Macworld. He says, "Rest in peace, Android, 2008 to 2025. The 2025 iPhone will finally kill its biggest competitor." Here's this tip on the week about being able to schedule a message to send. Take a look at the three pictures. One, you press the plus button on the left side of your message. Two, you pick up send later as the selection. Three, you simply set the time, date, and away you go. Hit send, and it'll go when you want it. I thought that was a real quick visual reminder of what that was all about. This one I leave to you alone to pursue this item if it looks interesting to you. The URL is on the bulletin board inside Miscellaneous Summary 2410.01. That's quite a speculation by David Price. Rest in peace, Android. 2025 iPhone will finally kill its biggest competitor. That's all I'm going to say on it, but I think it's...
Give us a hint. What is he talking about?
Huh?
Give us a hint. What is he talking about?
He says that the iPhone is going to kill the Androids. He says it's going to be so good. He does relate to the Apple intelligence and the merging of the Apple intelligence into the apps. And he thinks it's going to be so good that the rest of the cell phones will be
affordability too.
Yeah. So if you want to get a better feeling for it, as I say, go to the URL. On the questions, answers, and social hours, I do want to make a comment about, we were talking earlier about the cases for the Apple iPhone 16. I happen to have gotten the case called FNT case, FNT, Fox Nancy Tear case. And it has a gap so you can reach to the camera button. It has a stand on the back, which you pop out, and it will allow you to set your phone vertical or to set your phone horizontal. And it is positioned very well. It gives you a really good solid hold on your phone if you want to put it on a table while you're reading and you're eating with the other hand.
You want to hold it up so we can see it?
The other thing is it came with a screen protector built in. And so you got the screen protector as well. And I paid a whole $19.99 for it.
But these phones have sapphire screens over so they should be extremely indestructible already. So I don't see what a screen protector is going to do other than to make it visually a little less nice.
I saw where someone, I think it might have been, a standards lab, always test these things, and they dropped it from a specified height and it broke the screen. So it said they're not impermeable.
Yeah, but that's not the screen.
It was 9 to 5 Mac.
That's not the screen protector. The screen protector is for scratching the screen, not dropping it. What saves you is whatever rubber bumper silicone around the edge when it hits the edge. It doesn't really get broken from the front. That's from theoretically keeping you from scratching the screen with something.
Well, in my case with my iPhone 11, I dropped mine and it really took a chip out of the screen protector, but the screen was protected.
Yeah.
Well, I've dropped my iPhone 11 at least 24 times, and a number of them ended up on concrete, and there was no damage at all. But I've got a good cover on, which kind of stands out a little bit from the screen,
Right.
so it protects the
Right.
corners, and supposedly is 16-foot drop resistant. My previous phone, I smashed the screen, I think 5 times. Slow learner.
Well, anyway, FNT case is what I've got. On to
Okay, and your share will end go to Q&A. I'll say DVMUG members who are watching this on YouTube can see the general Q&A next section by getting the link on the DVMUG BBS. So we'll end this recording and we'll start a new one.